to Resilience Plus Rise, the podcast where resilience is not just a concept but a lived experience. I'm your host, Thomas Scaria, a resilience coach, a ultra marathoner, and a relentless believer in the human spirit's ability to rise.
Mm.
This podcast is a companion to my book, Resilience Plus Rise 26.2 Transformative Miles to Unleash Your Marathon of Life Mindset. Each episode is a raw, unfiltered dive into stories of those who have faced life's hardest battles and emerged stronger. Today, I would say it's a privilege more than anything else having the guest for Resilience Plus Rise today, Morgan Shewey. Her mother came in just few days back, Stacy Shui, about the passion, what they are onto the organization, what that they're working for. But more than that, Morgan, she's a non-profit leader. She's passionate about creating dignified solution for the world's most vulnerable population. She's a co-founder of Hands for Life. It's basically a intergenerational cohort getting together the seniors as well as the young orphan children together. She works around globally to get local communities to be empowered.
Yeah.
I could talk on and on about this, but let's directly get into Morgan. Welcome to Resilience Plus Rise, the podcast.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm honored to be on here and share my story. So thank you.
Fantastic. So, Morgan, there have been time and again I do put out a statement. From our deepest of wounds shines the brightest of light,
Mhm.
or from our deepest of scars rises the purpose.
Mhm.
You are on this particular mission, Hands for Life, which is creating a sense of belonging for many.
Mhm.
I do know the story of what has happened in your family, but if you could tell the story to the audience, and if you're okay telling about it, what happened that drove you, if that's the right word to say, to be who you are at this point of time and growing ahead with it?
Yeah, absolutely. So I come from a very close-knit, tight family. I actually grew up living right next door to my grandparents for, I think, the first 16 years of my life.
Hmm.
So I developed a very strong bond with them. When I was in trouble, I'd just go right next door to my grandma's. And my mom was a terrible cook, and my grandma was 100% Italian. So I was at my grandma's a lot to eat and
Okay.
stuff. And yeah, so I just developed such a heart for seniors because of my grandparents. And then in high school, my parents thought it was important for us to do mission work. So the life-changing trip for me was a mission trip to Haiti. And
Hmm.
I just really saw the gospel come to life. People had so much joy in their hearts, yet they had nothing. And I wanted that for myself. Like I remember praying, like, Lord, I want that kind of joy. And so that was what kind of birthed the passion in me to serve others, and especially children and seniors. So when I got to college, I actually majored in international business and entrepreneurship. I chose a major that could allow me to do different things. I knew I wanted to go into mission work and ministry, but I had no idea what God had in store for me. But looking back now, I see the seeds that He planted in order for me to be where I'm at today. So we started Hands for Life in 2019. And the original vision, my mom also has a huge heart for seniors. So the original vision with Hands for Life was just to build assisted living facilities in developing countries. But then I came in and I was like, oh, but the children, like I want to do work with kids. What if we build an assisted living right next to an orphanage in all these countries? So that was the original intention with Hands for Life. But then God came in and he was just like, no, no, no. This world, we have enough buildings. I want you two to solve problems. And we're like, all right, God, what is this problem? And he told us the global aging crisis. So we ended up researching, and it's true that the world is in this global aging crisis, where for the first time ever in recorded history, ages 65 and up are starting to outnumber ages 5 and below. And by the year 2050, 80% of the world's elderly population will be living in developing countries. And there's really no plans for them. So the solution, we believe, to this problem is to bring in the younger generation and teach them the importance of caring for seniors. So how we're doing this is we're pairing the orphan children with the orphan seniors, seniors who have nobody, no family, no friends. And we're creating a new family out of these two vulnerable populations. And we're doing this by building intergenerational educational campuses in developing countries, including here in the United States. And this campus will essentially be a launching pad for generational change. Through, we're going to have it be a self-sustaining campus. So through different farming initiatives like aquaponic, tree farm, bee farm, poultry farm, we're going to have local entrepreneurs come into the campus and learn different job skills. We're going to have a whole career workshop where the seniors will teach the children, but also have the local entrepreneurs come in, because we really want to equip and empower communities to be able to best care for the aging population and also children. So that's our mission with Hands for Life. And getting back to your question, my life has always, I've been blessed with a great life, great family, and tragedy didn't really hit my life until June of 2022. And it was the night of June 4th where I remember going to bed that night, and I would always sleep with my phone ringer off. But that night, God told me, turn your ringer on. And I had no idea why. I just turned my ringer on. And at about 4 o'clock in the morning, I got a call from my mom, and thank God I had my ringer on, but I got a call from my mom, and she said, Morgan, come home. Don't ask questions, just come home. Pack a bag for a few days and just come home. And I lived in Tampa and she's in Jacksonville. So it was about a 3.5-hour drive. And the whole drive, I was just praying, thinking, my grandpa's in his 90s, like my grandpa died. So 3.5 hours, I was just praying for peace and God's presence. And I got to my grandparents, and my parents arrived at the same time with my little brother, and we all walked in the house at the same time. And I saw my grandma, I hugged her, but then behind her, I saw my grandpa. So I ran to him. I was like, oh my gosh, thank God you're alive. I thought you were dead. And it still didn't dawn on me what happened. Like I thought, okay, are we going on a family vacation? Is this a surprise? And then my mom brought us into my grandma's kitchen, and we all stood around in a circle and held hands. And my mom prayed, and she just said, Lord, help us as we welcome Alex into your kingdom. And Alex was my 24-year-old older brother. He was 2 years older than me, and we were best friends for my whole life. Like me and him, we were very close. And when she said that, I just dropped to the floor in tears. And I remember my little brother, he just ran out of the house and just started running. And my grandpa, it's just seeing your loved ones grieve is almost as harder as you grieving yourself. So yeah, I lost my brother. He was just about to move to Florida. But a week before his move from Ohio to Florida, he was studying in Ohio to become a pilot. He decided to go back to our hometown in Illinois with his college friends, ironically, for his last goodbye before he moved. And he decided to bring them at night to this spot where we used to go as kids and just kind of hang out, think about life, contemplate life. And it was dark, and he brought them, and it was a stone quarry on a 90-foot cliff. And he had his flashlight on his phone. And as he was walking to the edge, he looked back and he just said, guys, be careful. It's a far drop. And as he stepped back, he ended up falling off the cliff to his death. And he was trying to protect his friends. And I don't think he realized that it was an active quarry. So it's been years since he was there. So the distance from the end was a lot shorter than he had remembered, I think. But God has been good to us. My mom and I, we both just struggled with just the vision of him stepping and falling. That's all we kept having in our mind. And my mom, just cried out to God and said, please take this vision. And he told her that, it was just an empty shell of a body that fell because the angels took him before he even hit ground. So that definitely took just the suffering that we thought he endured off of us. Like, it just lifted, and it gave us so much peace. And I remember, he was studying to be a pilot, and I went on an airplane a couple months after he passed, and I was just having a hard time, and I was getting weepy in my seat. So I pulled out my phone and I went on the Bible app, and it was just a random verse, and it was in Luke that says, like, the angels, you will not hit your foot on rock. The angels will take you up. And that just brought me so much comfort. So God has really showed up in the dark times. And it's so true that he's close to the brokenhearted, because that's where I've experienced God the most, is in my valleys. So yeah, I lost my brother June 5th of 2022. And then a lot of loss after that. I lost my great aunt, and then both my grandparents who I lived next door to, and my other grandma. And it's just, yeah, a lot of loss. But like I said, God shows up in the loss. So
Even if I say the word sorry, it would be, I mean, for me, myself, it sounds hollow because words cannot, unfortunately, words cannot give that sense of emotion.
mhm.
What, when you look back from 2022 until it's 3 years now, what were few of the steps that helped you to get back? Of course, you mentioned about being, or God being faithful rather than the other way. God
Mhm.
being faithful and He's taking care of all of y'all in the family. But what were the things that you did that helped you to get more resilient, more stronger in your own self?
Yeah. For me, every day it was a choice. And that choice was either to let my mind just spiral into all these negative thoughts, and a choice to be mad at God, like, God, you could have prevented this. But I chose to intentionally renew my mind with truth. And Romans 12:2 was my go-to verse. It says to renew your mind. So that's what I did. And, some days it looked like worshiping through tears. Some days it just looked like reading scripture, even when I didn't feel like it. But a lot of days it just looked like me being honest with God and saying, God, I don't understand, but I know you're here. And as I realized that as I began to renew my mind, God really renewed my strength. And, grief, it doesn't disappear. The pain doesn't ever, I don't think ever will
Hmm.
go away. But joy will begin to coexist with sorrow if you lean into the source of joy, which is Jesus. And the enemy, the Bible says, the enemy comes to steal, kill, and destroy, but he can't destroy us because we're covered in Jesus. So I think it's just that even when you don't feel God and his presence, like, you just have to know what the word says. The word says he'll never leave us or forsake us. And God is close to the brokenhearted. He'll meet you in your lowest place. He'll surround you with people. And that's what he did for me. Is my community became such, like, a joyful presence in my life. They surrounded me and encouraged me and spoke truth into my mind. So I always say, like, I'm not grateful that my brother died, of course not, but I'm so grateful to serve a God that stands with me in the fire, and he truly does.
Wonderful. There are times wherein I am just in loss of questions, and this has been one of those moments. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
If I move my focus to what y'all are doing, what it has developed to Hands for Life.
Mhm.
Of course, Stacy, she has mentioned quite a bit about Hands for Life. But when you're being involved with it, what do you see? What has happened during those times wherein it has just reinforced the mission that you're on to?
Like specific things that have happened
Things,
that,
maybe the things that has happened, or maybe a overall picture, but things which is kind of moving in you, through you, and saying that yes, this is what we are doing.
yeah, I think for me, like being out on the mission field when we would take different trips and seeing the impact that we're making, seniors who probably have felt forgotten. We had one grandmother who, like, she had no family. She lost her husband. She lost all of her children. She had nobody. And her house, there was a big rainstorm. So it completely destroyed her house. And we went to go visit her, and just seeing how much sorrow she was carrying with her. It was just, nobody should have to go through what she went through, and especially aging alone. And we were able to, through her monthly sponsor, she felt that she heard from God to fund the build of her new house. So we were able to build this grandmother a whole new house. And our team in Nigeria took videos of her stepping into her new furnished home. And that just reinforced like our mission for seniors, like having seniors feel seen again, right? Because it's so easy to age like alone. And I think when you stop contributing to society, society forgets you. And that's not what we want with Hands for Life. We want people to age with dignity and feel like they belong somewhere. And even with kids and the impact stories that we have with some of the children that we've served, we had one little girl who, she lost her parents and she was an orphan. So she went to go stay with her uncle. And her uncle had 7 of his own children, and he couldn't take care of this other little girl. So he was trying to starve her to essentially just kill her because he wanted to take care of his own kids. That was his priority. And we were able to get her out of that home and rescue her and pair her with a senior who could pour into her. Um, so just stories like that reinforces the why for me, like seeing it firsthand of the impact that we're making. We don't have buildings yet, but we are doing such great work for people who would essentially be forgotten by society.
Wonderful. Thank you
Yeah.
for that.
Mhm.
And guys, Hands for Life, the information is down below in the post which is put across. So have a look onto it. And if this conversation has stirred anything, I'm just saying anything, even if it's just a minuscule percentage, just go to the website, Hands for Life, and see what you could do if there is something that beats within you.
Mhm.
Oh, just being mindful of the time in this walk that you have been with a mission, and you're balancing your studies and you're doing various other activities. What are few of the, I would say, more of the life lessons, or what are the steps that has helped you to get more stronger, more resilient in the entire space that you are in?
That's a good question. I would say the pain that I walked through has definitely built in me some resilience, and has just given me a focus on an eternal perspective, that we are here for a purpose.
Hmm.
And, I think when it comes to leadership, a lot of people think leadership is just having an influence. But really, I think leadership is just serving others. I think anyone could be a leader. I think it just comes down to following Jesus' example, right? Like he didn't come to be served, he came to serve. And I think we should be copying that. Um, so, yeah, I would say just it comes down to my pain has really just shaped my focus on an eternal perspective, serving others, and bringing as many people as I can to Jesus.
Hmm. Hmm. What, and here you can take your time.
Yeah.
If there is, I'm not saying any, you have already said it about the purpose and following, and it could be like people of different faith, whatever the faith is,
Mhm.
following the faith and being true to your faith,
Yes.
and looking at what has been done for the upliftment of another human, another brother or a sister.
Mhm.
That would be more, it would take the world to be in a better space. But if you were to say something to the young generation, what would that be?
I would say be bold and use your voice. I don't think um, you're underestimated for your age. I think, we live in a world where you can share your story just through your phone. And I would
Mhm.
say, I would just encourage people to start sharing their story, sharing their faith with others. And you don't have to be a missionary to serve others. You can serve them right in your backyard. So, yeah, I would just say be bold and use your voice.
Right. That's very quite powerful because again, I've known that a lot of youngsters at times they are so driven by having more certification, by having getting into a corporate job which could be paying around six figure salary or something. That's what and they are just sprinting. Like I had just put out an article, I think so yesterday on my platform about life is more of a marathon rather than a sprint, rather than
Yes.
just sprinting and keeping on running and suddenly we just lose all the momentum, all the gas. Okay,
Yeah.
slow consistent steps takes you. And again, Morgan, this is something beautiful because there's another statement I say time and again is that we all are angels with broken wings. When
Mhm.
we hold another, that's when we start flying higher.
Yeah, I love that.
I believe Morgan O'Year is a perfect example of that. Even with the hurting, the pain that she has gone through, she is holding on other people who requires her part of wings also.
Mhm.
Anything else that you want to say before we can conclude this? Anything that comes to your mind, or let the Holy Spirit drive you to say something. You can say anything.
Well, I just thank you for your time and doing this podcast with people. I think it's a great way for people to share their hurt and their pain with others. And I'm sure it's super encouraging for all the listeners. So I just want to thank you for that.
Thank you. Thank you so very much, Morgan, for your time and space. And God bless you for what you're doing. And may you continue to bring the light to one and many around, whether it is in Nigeria, whether it's in USA, or whether it's in other parts of the world. And guys, again, Hands for Life, have a look onto it. Just have a look onto it and see what is being done. And you may not be able to do it, but if you can tell somebody else also to help in this particular mission, because what they're
Mhm.
doing, it's not a small amount or small element that they're doing. They do require funds to get it to the next level, to help more people. So be a part that you can be one of the bricklayers to get another brick onto the space that they are building upon. Morgan, thank you again, and you have a wonderful rest of the day.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Bye.